What's the question?
Oh, we were talking about Wake Forest.
Again, I think Danny's done a great job with his team. They got off to probably a slower start than they thought they would, but since the Illinois game, they played terrific basketball. They've got great guard play. They've got obviously big size on the front line that we'll have to deal with. And do a lot of ball screen action, and spread the floor well. They look to really attack it offensively, and they'll show us a couple of different defenses.
Coach, you talked about it before, getting Grant and some of your post players a little bit lower down on the block. How are you guys coming along in that area, you think?
Well, again, it's just I think that's a mindset as much as anything. I mean, you have to fight for it. People aren't going to give it to you down there, and we need to get our timing better offensively when he knows when he needs to, duck in there and when the ball needs to get there to him. And so it's just a matter of not only him doing his job, fighting for his space, but our perimeter guys being ready to put the ball in the post.
What's your frustration level with Bone and how he's playing right now?
Well, again, we believe in him, and he's still, you can say, relatively young. I mean, you go back to a year ago, he missed the first part of the season and then came back in and worked his way back in. And we want him to be more aggressive. That's what we want from him. We want him attacking. We want him to have that mindset that he's got to go. And then defensively, I thought the last game against Furman, he probably did as good as he has done all year in terms of trying to pressure the ball. And but we just need him to be much more offensive minded.
Is there a number of shots you like to see Jordan Bowden get in a game?
It's not enough. I mean, when you look at what he's shooting right now, and he's got guys coming off the bench that's taking more shots than him and play less minutes, and not shooting as high as a percentage as he is. And but you know what? I think he's got a pretty good feel for what he needs to do. And the other thing is that he is always assigned to guard the other team's best perimeter player. So he's really doing double work there. And I think he knows that on the defensive end, that's what he's going to really lock into. And he probably understands in our offense where he's going to get shots and where they come from. And we do have to tell him sometimes to get aggressive and to do some things. But he's got his mindset is that he really wants to share the ball, even though we do think that, again, like we were talking about with Jordan Bone, he needs to be more aggressive.
Where's Derek? Sorry, go ahead.
Rick, the past few games, I guess Lamonte's percentages haven't been what they have been early in the season. Is it shot selection? Is it just bad luck, or what, have you noticed anything watching film about?
Well, I think one, shot selection has hurt him. I do think that. I mean, if you look at his percentage, for a guy that works as hard as he does, he should be shooting a better percentage. And I think you got to ask yourself that question. He's got to ask himself that question. And I think when you miss some shots, and then you start trying to press and think I got to make a basket, I think it really gets harder. He did, he's had a couple that, go in and out, which that's part of it. But I do think that he is pressed and taking some shots. Like he shot one the other night when his foot was on the line. And when you're doing things like that, you're definitely searching it out, and that's not going to work for you. But the one thing he has done the last two games, he's rebounded the ball really well for us. We need him to want to get out and transition more. He needs to get out and run even when he doesn't think he's going to get the ball. And the more that he would run the offense, knowing that he might get the ball, might not, I think all that would fall in place for him.
Where's Derek Walker in his development right now?
Again, I think he's getting closer. We know that he's a guy that can go in and bring some physicality, and he'll really ball screen defense. He understands that. He's a guy that, again, when he comes off the bench, I think he and John Fulkerson the last game really brought some energy. And that's what we want those guys to do. We just think that when we get to the bench, those guys have got to come in and bring some energy and not just hold the line, but really try to help us stretch it out. And over the last two games, he's getting closer to doing that.
You mentioned after last game you guys really didn't get out and run like you wanted. Why do you think that is, that there's that hesitancy to try to do that?
Well, the start of that game, they were putting everybody back. I mean, there's teams that when they know you want to run, that's why if you go back and look, they didn't have very many offensive rebounds because they were going back. And then a couple times at the end of the game, they snuck in there and got some because our guys kept thinking, well, they're getting back so we don't have to block out, and they ran by us a few times there when again, we just let up and we can't. But so that has something to do with it, but it still doesn't mean you don't still attack and transition, still get down, get your space. And We just have to play offense harder. I mean, when you look at it, we didn't even get to the second side of our offense the other night. We would just make one or two cuts, stop, and stand around, and that's exactly what they would want us to do because they would pack back in there where we just have to keep moving the ball, especially when you play a packed defense. And so we've got to do a better job of understanding that teams, the more the season goes on, they're going to try to take away your first, second, third option. Then are you disciplined enough to continue with what you're trying to get done?